find ourselves back in Confolens, a beautiful place, and really ironically I was just literally across the road a few weeks ago. Funny how these things happen, and just coincidence in terms of that. I'm actually here today in Confolens seeing a lovely Irish couple who've recently moved here. They took ownership last November of this beautiful property, which if you're just looking, we're literally situated on the river here. The bridge is there moving away from us. I've had a little look around, but I'm going to give you a really good look around in a minute of what they've done with this place, what they're looking to do, and also I've got a fantastic interview with them about why they chose here, how easy, how difficult it was to move to France, what they're looking to do, and actually find out just a little bit more about this really fascinating couple, what they're doing and everything that's here. So let's go and have a look.
Well, over the years we holidayed in France with the kids as they were growing up, and I always said to Carmel, when the boys grew up and fly the nest, so to speak, that we would try it ourselves, come back and try and find a property and give it a go. And so here we are. No regrets. I suppose I started the ball rolling. Carmel picked the ball up and ran with it and caught me by surprise when she said she had organised everything really, and off we went and we arrived here and that's it.
I suppose we've always loved France. I think it's got a real kind of family vibe about it. I know sometimes people think with rose-coloured tinted glasses, it's not all for everybody. It doesn't suit some people. But for us, when we came over here last year, it wasn't everything we thought it was going to be. But when we came to Confolens and stayed here, it was a very different experience, and we just fell in love with the area. Fell in love with the people from the time we actually arrived. Like Confolens, people were really helpful in the restaurant, in the chambre d'hôte, in the shops, and we were only here for 2 days. And I think that made a bigger impression on us for the area Confolens more than France. But I suppose basically when we decided we were moving to France, then it was to find a property. So what we did was we went onto all the websites, and we picked houses that we thought we would like. So for us, in our head, we thought we wanted to have a house that we would have our family and our friends come and visit us. We wanted to have a swimming pool. We wanted to have a large garden because Sean wanted to go around. He always wanted to ride on lawnmower. And as well as that, we wanted to have sheets because we wanted to have an extra income, to keep us going. So what we did was we shortlisted 12 properties, the whole way down from the Serves to Toulouse, which was, I think we did approximately how many thousand miles? I don't know, it was a lot of travelling. So we set off from Rosslare last June on our 2-week holiday in France, just me and Sean. And we started off, and in the various locations where we were, what we did was we looked at different properties with different house agencies, and we just happened to, we were driving down the motorway and Sean said to me, he said, well, where do you want to stay tonight, or how long more do you want me to drive? And I said, should we drive for another hour? And I just went into booking.com and Confolens came up, and I said, right, that looks like a nice B&B beside the bridge. And we just booked in here overnight, and the next morning then we just started talking to the guys who owned it, and they said they were thinking about selling, and we had a look around. I said, Sean, come on downstairs and we'll have a look. And we went off then that day, went down as far as Toulouse, absolutely beautiful city, beautiful properties down in the area. And then we kind of fell in love with another property down there, but there was something about Confolens, and I think it was the location, it was the people, it was, the house was right beside the Vienne River, it had access onto the river, as well as that, it had absolutely stunning views from every single bedroom and every single room in the house, and that even to this day is actually evidential, because sometimes I can't find Sean Because I said, Sean, he could be down the bottom terrace, he could be on the garden, he could be on the balcony terrace, he could be on the bottom terrace, or he could be just simply sitting outside on the bridge talking to all the neighbours. And it's about having a community feeling. So I loved all that when we came here. We both did. And then we went back home to Ireland. Just happened that we had sold our house. There was a lot of things going on, and Sean worked full-time in kennels. He was self-employed. I was a manager in tourism industry, and we just kind of felt now was the time we wanted to have a change. So we came back on to the guys, made them an offer, and the rest was history.
Well, as Carmel said, we left Rosslare in the southeast of Ireland, and we arrived in Cherbourg, obviously driving, and we started our journey from there. And the first place we actually stayed in overnight was a little cheat in the middle of the country. It was absolutely lovely. Stayed there for one night, and we continued our journey the following day. And I was driving for 4 or 5 hours maybe, and Carmel actually said to me, how long more do you want to drive for, because you must be getting tired. I said, I am. Sure, look, if we give it another hour maybe. So that was fine. She went on to her googly on the phone and came up with this Chamber Road here in Confolens. And we arrived here that night. It was late, 10 o'clock actually. And
it was 9.
Well, it was 9 o'clock. Actually, we were hungry.
Because you got into Andy's.
Yeah. We went for something to eat at a restaurant across the way in the square.
Because we knew 9 o'clock everything closes in France.
Yeah. And we arrived here then, and we met Nick. And we met him in more detail the following morning as we were having breakfast. He appeared and had some coffee with us, and we said we were here to view properties. And he said, well, I was often thinking about selling the place here. And all right, says I, and put no more pass on it. I looked around at one stage, Carmel was gone. He was showing her around where we are now downstairs here. And I didn't realise what was going on, to be honest. So we set off our journey that day, later on that day, and we headed south and viewed properties, some stunning properties, I have to say, some good, some not so good, some excellent. But the excellent ones were pretty isolated. We didn't want that. We wanted to be around people. So we viewed all the properties we had, didn't find the right one, so we ended back in Confolens for a second night stay, and spoke to Nick again, took it more seriously, and looked at the place in more detail. The rest is history. We headed back to Ireland, spoke about it on the phone to Nick or an email, whatever it was, I can't remember what, but anyway, we made an offer and it was accepted. And the rest is history, as to say. We ended back in Confolens and we're here for good now since, I think we're here since July. As I said, we arrived in Cherbourg. We actually decided to come then, and we actually rented a jeep in further up north in a little town called, or a village rather, Château-Dun, which is in the Loire region of France. And we spent 4 weeks there. Beautiful, the weather was great, fantastic, like, you know what I mean. And we were there for 4 weeks. Then we arrived down here in Confolens. Our furniture arrived before we even got here. Nick and Mary, the previous owners, in fairness to them, unloaded the truck. All our furniture was here. When we arrived, everything was here, and they actually let us move in. Not a piece of paper signed, no money had changed hands, and I couldn't believe this sort of thing. But as Nick explained, everything was done on trust, and that was fine with us. And we settled in, and the guys actually said to us, if you want to make changes, you can start now if you want, we don't mind. So we bulldozed into it and started the cosmetic surgery, as they say, and all that sort of thing, like, you know what I mean. And it was fantastic, really. We couldn't have asked for better. The guys were fantastic with us and letting us go ahead like that. We could have been 3 months behind at this stage where we are now, only for the guys, like, but we were here for the long run. We were here to stay, and they knew it, so they had every faith in us.
So after our offer was accepted, I think the paperwork was very intimidating. Sean doesn't really like paperwork, so I suppose I just went ahead and did it. So we had to do things like, lucky enough, the guys gave us a notary in France here who speaks English, and we made contact with him. We had to set him up as a direct debit. Then we had to try and get the deposit across to him. And all in all, it took from when we made the offer in July, we actually only got the property signed over to us in the end of November. We had to open a bank account, because to open a bank account here in France, there's lots of different paperwork. It took about 3 different appointments to actually get that, to get bank cards, to get checks, to get house insurance on the property. You couldn't do that unless you had something else. You couldn't do something else and something else. So I suppose from the time that we actually started until the time we actually moved in here, there was a lot of paperwork, and it can be very daunting. It really can be very daunting. Like, I suppose I do a lot of admin, so I didn't mind doing any of that. If Sean had known all the paperwork going on, he would have just thrown his hat at it.
Thrown the towel in.
And even the biggest part for us, like when we were transferring money from Ireland to France, because it was, because we expected to complete on a certain date and we realised the money hadn't transferred. We didn't know that, from things. So they're important things to learn for people, to have all the funds in place before you just go in and transfer. It doesn't happen like that. You should have told them this. You needed to have, if you don't have the house insurance, you won't get that. And on the day, like when we went in, we were lucky enough, we didn't have to get anything. Most people go in, transfer the money and get the keys. We already had the keys, so there was nothing kind of new on that side, but a lot of admin and actually getting paperwork. We didn't go through an agency. There are advantages and disadvantages. Well, we didn't really see any, because we had made contact with the guys. We had all of the paperwork done from, say, to make sure that the gas was all right, electricity was all right, asbestos was all right, dry rot. There was all these different things. And when we went to the English-speaking notary, absolutely brilliant. So he went through everything in detail, from saying, this is your plot of land, this is what you're buying. The house is as it is, and that's the most important thing. You can't go back afterwards and say, well, you didn't say this and that, because all of the works and all are done before that. So there's a lot of detail going in and actually buying a house in France, and that's it. So the first day when we came in here and we walked up the 24 steps, as I call them, and it was just, I suppose it was dark, but when I got to the top, the balcony door was open and I could see this bright light, and I walked straight out onto the balcony door, because it was the first thing I saw at the top of the steps. So I always think, when you're going somewhere, if you have something beyond that, you forget about the 24 steps you walked up. That's my concept on things anyway. And when I walked out on the terrace and I could see the old bridge to my right, I could see the River Vienne in front of me, beautiful garden, and then I saw the point view, which is the old bridge, on my left hand side. And I just stood there, and the wisteria was blown and the smell of it, and I hadn't seen much of the rest of the house. The tiles were absolutely exquisite. I love them on the floor. And I suppose from there, the first room we stayed in that night, it was lovely, really comfortable beds, powerful showers and things like that. So to me, I suppose I still get goosebumps when I think about it, which is great. And I kept saying, when I went to, I had this kind of vision, and everyone laughs when I say the vision, and people, even the painter, God love him, and all of my friends say, yeah, I have the vision. The vision is actually coming to life, because now they can see what I was talking about. So basically what we have done is, we've taken a house that basically was, say, not tired, it was perfectly structurally found, so there was no maintenance work to be done, really, absolutely none. So basically what I've done is I've sanded all the floors, I've varnished all the floors, we've painted the entire house, and we've literally replaced all of the furniture. We've upgraded. So, for example, we have kind of like espresso machines and coffees. So we brought it up to the 21st century, I think that's what I'm trying to say. We've all mod cons, like we've slippers, and we've got bathrobes and nice plush towels and comfy beds and things like that. So I wanted everybody to have the experience that I've always enjoyed when I go away. I don't want someone to come in and say, oh, it's too dark or it's too dull, it's drab. I wanted to just brighten up the place with, modern luxuries, as I call them. And I think everybody expects them nowadays. It's not like years ago where people were going to, sheets and just kind of like, oh yeah, it was all about the kids. Because nowadays, kids are wanting more too as well, and the more amenities that are in the area and things like that, I think it's really important. But the vision for downstairs here, as I call downstairs, this used to be the restaurant. So this is our living accommodation. And at the front, what we're going to do in the next few weeks is we're going to open up a takeaway option out there. And that will be open for hopefully 6 months, maybe longer, depending. We're kind of hoping from March until the end of October. And we'll just do that for that kind of many months, and we'll see where that takes. If all goes well, we can expand in here if we want to, we can do less. We can do more. We have our options open, but I think for the first year we're just going to crawl along and just do, you know, the chambre d'hôte upstairs.
We don't want to take on too much.
Well, we don't want to, it's not we don't want to take on too much. We kind of want to crawl before we can run. And we want to enjoy our time here, that at least if we do the chambre d'hôte upstairs and we come down here in the afternoon and work for a few hours, that we still have time together to go do the things that we want to do. Like, you know, we both had busy lifestyles at home, so it's kind of about taking a slower pace of life. We didn't come over here to like work 24/7 like we were doing. Like, that's not really what it's about.
Yeah, thank God for Carmel, because she's more of a visionary than I am, I can tell you that. But anyway, yeah, we started from the top floor and started to work our way down. All the work upstairs, I'll put it down to Carmel, because as she said, she's done all the sanding and the varnishing and the painting and things like that. I'm not into DIY, really. Yeah, but it's getting there. It's more or less complete at this stage. Just to install the kitchen at the minute, or the dining room, have that ready for guests, and then we're away. As Carmel said, last week in March, early April, we hope to be up and running, and we take it from there. Yeah, a lot of work has gone into it, all cosmetic, no heavy renovation as such. We were lucky in that sense. No heavy renovation, no knocking of walls or anything like that. It was all cosmetic, paint-wise, furniture upgrading, as Carmel said, just all the little things like. Yeah, we had a painter, and he was here for 3 months, and he was on his own, so that's why it took so long, I suppose. But yeah, we're really happy. You know, it's starting to come together now, and I'm starting to see the vision maybe a little bit. This vision that is eluding me for the last, I don't know, but anyway, starting to see it a bit now. Okay, yeah, it's good. Yeah, happy enough, happy out.
So when we walked up the stairs, the first room that I saw was what everybody sees when they're from outside, which is called the balcony suite. The balcony suite is, as I said, it speaks for itself. It's got beautiful panoramic doors that open out onto a balcony with 2 chairs on it. You can look over the Vienne, you can look over the old river, as we call it, the Point View. The sun comes up there in the morning. So now when I put in the coffee machines, you can have your coffee, sit out on the terrace, and just look at the sunrise and coming up along the sky, and just go back in. Lovely powerful showers, toiletries, you've got everything. All that room is en suite, and it's done to the last. Then, as well as that, we also have another smaller room. It can be done as a single or a double. Has a built-in shower and all in it, except the bathroom is separate on it. Now that room is fantastic, because the fact of it is so underutilised. It's got a beautiful view down along the river, and of the terrace as well, like, which is right outside the door. Then on top of that, then I always found the top room on the top floor, I call it the botanic suite. The botanical suite, because it's up on the 3rd floor. It looks out over the garden, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I've claimed that as our room, because it is beautiful, and you know, we don't want to be kind of like, no, we want to enjoy our life as well. And then there's another beautiful room. It's a double room. Now it's smaller than the balcony room. It's got a full ensuite, beautiful size and all like that. And the views from there out over the river, and as well as that, you can see straight out of the garden. You just open the windows and everything is there in front of you. As well as that, then we have a quite larger room on the other side. That's got another double bed. There's also a single bed in that if someone wants to share as a twin or something. That room is more or less the same. It's on top of where the balcony suite is. And when you open the 2 windows on that, you can sit on the couch at night, have your glass of wine, have your cup of coffee. It has spectacular views the whole way around. So basically the 4 rooms that we're actually renting out in our chambre d'hôte upstairs, they have 3 out of the 4 have all got en suites, but 4 out of the 4 have all got fantastic views of the river and of the gardens. There's not one of them where you don't see it. As well as that, an added bonus to the chambre d'hôte here, it's called Chez in Confolens. It's called Chez because Sean is always called Sean John Jack. But there is no traffic outside our door. Absolutely no traffic. It's a pedestrian bridge, so people come and they sit outside the bridge, and you can just walk across the bridge over to the little town of Confolens. Parking is outside down on the river. It's free of charge. You don't have to make reservations or anything for it. And we're right beside the old fountain as well. Like, so the fountain itself, that's why it's called the fountain. No, what's the one bis Place de Fonteaux? That's our address here. Like, so basically, then what we're going to do, hopefully in the next few weeks, is we're going to open what's called Le Fountain de Glace, which is the fountain of the ices. So we're going to have an ice cream parlour out here, and the reason that that is going to be is because there's so many people come across that bridge. They come across, they walk, and they just want something, you know, a little ice cream or something like that to look around. Now, hopefully, if all that goes well, in the near future, we can expand, we can do tea rooms, we can do teas and coffees, but at the moment we're just going to start small and just kind of go from there, like. So between Chez, Jack, and then we'll have Le Fountain de Glace downstairs, and then we have our own space here with our own beautiful garden with everything outside for our dogs and all.
Quite simply put, we got on the boat, arrived in France, and that was it. To this day I still can't understand it. Very important. We're very fortunate that the previous owners, Nick and Mary, are our next door neighbours. They haven't moved out of the vicinity, they're still here. Carmel was just talking about barriers there, about trying to get people, tradesmen, to do things. We are so lucky in that regard as well, because Nick is a jack of all trades and a master of them all as well, I can tell you. He's fantastic. A network of people. It's very important. We take French lessons every Monday in Rosemary is down the road, and there's 12 of us in the class, and we've made a good connection with the people there, and become friends. We have coffees and after classes every Monday. We
meet them in the shopping centre.
We socialise and getting to know the neighbourhood that we're in now at the minute, and we're surrounded by people from the UK, people from America, people from Australia, New Zealand, Canada. We get to know them all. It's like a little community. It's fantastic, really. It's great, you know what I mean? Barriers, I suppose a lot of people would think that the language is the biggest barrier. Personally, I don't think the language is a barrier. It's a challenge, but it's not a barrier. You know, I'm relaxed about it. I feel like that I'm learning more by talking to people on the street, talking to my French neighbour next door, rather than being in a classroom where you're sort of under pressure a little bit, sort of thing. And when you're asked something, you freeze. I think it's easier. Well, for me, it's easier being out and about, mixing with people. I think the French people are fantastic, because if you try with them, they're more than willing to help. Mm-hmm. I have no issues with them at all whatsoever, And I think a smile and a bit of the banter goes a long way with them as well, you know what I mean? And so that's how I break down the so-called barriers. Or, as I said, the language is not a barrier for me. It's a challenge, but not a barrier. For me, the biggest barrier would be paperwork. As Carmel said, it's just in triplicate, and everything is just paperwork is unbelievable. Trying to get tradesmen, yes. If we were looking for tradesmen, I suppose back in Ireland you picked up the phone and were on your doorstep in an hour or two, sort of thing, or the next day. Here, it's just, it's unbelievable. You know what I mean? Everybody is busy all the time. No barriers, just challenges for me. Just no barriers.
Integrating with the French. Well, I love it, because even when you walk outside the door, there's always somebody walking up the street, and we came here with our flat French bonjour, where by now it's bonjour, you have to say it in a real kind of quirky voice. And when you go to the supermarket now, you don't feel intimidated. Before it was kind of oh my God, what's she going to say to me? Whereby now, they're asking you what you know straight away what they're saying. The barriers, I suppose, for me is writing checks, because I have to. It's a different way of actually writing the checks. It's not like if you have a check for €72, it's not 72. It's 60 plus 12. So it's like as if I'm going back to school and adding things. I find that a huge barrier. As regards to going into the chemist or anything like that, Google Translate is absolutely brilliant. Our 19-year-old son showed us how to use them. He was sitting down and we were in tours one day, having a menu. And he was like, this is fun. I said, Paul, would you get off your phone when you were here at the restaurant? He said, I'm just reading what's on the menu. We never knew what that was. We actually didn't. And I showed it to the guy, the paint fella as well. And he was he thought I was magnifying something on it. But when you go to a restaurant, instead of saying, well, what's that? Well, okay, that's chicken, that's that. But what's it with? And there's so many different sauces. You can get something and you don't know what it is. Whereby now you just sit there. Everybody does it. So it's not that people are being unsociable about things like that. No, there are no barriers. I think, honestly, as Sean said, if you smile at people and you make an effort and you got the right words and just use Google Translate. And even when you go to the supermarket, so we were up in Castorama last week, the guy had no service on his phone. You can use it. He can translate by speaking, like. So the only barriers you're going to have are the ones that you're going to make yourself, like. You just have to go and do it. And if you're kind of going to stop and start thinking, oh, well, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, you have to be positive. You know, you just have to be positive and just go for it.
Do it sooner rather than later, to be quite honest about it. Just, if you want to do it, don't wait. If you're in the position to do it, do it. I mean, from the UK or Ireland, it's not a million miles away. It's not the other side of the world. It's an hour and a half away on an airplane. You know, it's not the end of the world. So do it. I highly recommend it. I mean, you've got one shot at life. So if you want to do something, just go ahead and do it. It's fantastic. What do you think?
Honestly, if I was to say to someone they were moving to France and they were very unsure, I'd say to them, come out and rent. But I would also say to them, come out in the winter time. Because if people come out in the summertime, like we did, and we were over in the summertime every time, you go down the Dordogne in the canoe, you go into the rocks, you go to the water parks, you do everything, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's picture postcard. Whereby when you're here in the wintertime, it's very different. Like all the shops close between say 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock, the restaurants close at 9 o'clock at night, the bars aren't open, everything closes of a Sunday and of a Monday. Most of the offices and things like that, even the banks are closed on Monday. It's a very different way of living, but it's the French lifestyle, and I have to say it's so laid back. It is absolutely brilliant. The only thing I would say is when people come over here, they think with, as I said, the rose tinted glasses. That doesn't always work like that, and we find a lot of people, what they do is they don't have enough money. They actually don't keep themselves going, and it's really important that if you're buying a house over here, you can say, well, right, okay, you have that, because we've heard so many horror stories, and I don't mean horror stories, but people who just can't afford to finish their houses, or they're getting ripped off by road traders or things like that. And I think, you know, be very careful what you're doing, but I definitely say come over, rent. It would be 100%. Don't commit to it. Just come over and rent in the winter for 3 or 4 months and just see, because like it does rain a lot. Il pleut encore. We've said that a lot this month, like seriously. But when you have beautiful days like we had the other day, it was -4, the skies were blue, and as Nick says next door, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing.
Yeah, you do get winters in France, that's the thing. People don't realise that, I suppose. But yeah, you do get your winters, and to say if you get over a winter in France, you'll be fine. Yeah. So anybody thinking about it, that's a good idea actually. Come and rent for a couple of weeks in the winter. You know what the summer is like. Yeah. So come in the winter for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and see what you think then. You know, and in summertime
you don't go and see, you see all the nice things. Now this time of the year, we've gone to Angoulême, we've gone to Potiers, we've been to Limoges for the Christmas markets for things, we've been down to Chez. It's not warm, but it's absolutely beautiful. And like, I mean, we even went down to San Sebastian there a few weeks ago for Christmas. You know, after Christmas we went down with our son, like just for a couple of days, just to break it. It's just 4 hours down the road. So we've plans to kind of do more travelling and things like that, I think.
Yeah. That's another thing actually, when you're in the likes of France, you're on mainland Europe,
easy.
You can drive anywhere.
That's the plan.
If you don't mind driving, you can drive anywhere. As Carmel said, we went down to Spain there last week, the week before. I think it was 4.5 hours down to San Sebastian.
It's great.
Fantastic city. Fantastic down there. It's great.
Beautiful.
As I said, 4.5 hours down the road. But you can easily drive down to Italy or drive across to Germany, Switzerland.
There's so many things you can do here. Whereby in Ireland, I think you always had to get on a boat to go to England or go on a boat. Whereby now we just get out of a car and we can just, you know, now there's only the 2 of us. Yeah, hard to say now. We do miss our family. We do miss the boys and the grandchildren. I have one. We've 2 grandchildren, 1 and I always wanted a granddaughter. The granddaughter arrived and we left her. But no, we haven't seen her, and every time you see her video, she's getting different. Like, you do miss that. And Sean misses his mother. There's no point in saying that, but the boys are all happy. They have their own lives to live, and, you know, I think we're kind of independent enough that...
They've yet to pay us a visit, actually.
One has.
One of the youngest guys has.
Paul has been here now, so that's all.
Yeah. Paul is in Manchester at college, so he comes over on his time off. So. Yeah.
If someone wants to book it, just Google Chez Jack Confolens or send an email to chezjackconfolens@gmail.com. I'm going live on booking.com at the beginning of February, And after that, then we will just try and do marketing and have the website up hopefully by the end of March, and we'll go from there. Like, or the contact number is 0788 3610 0788 681360.